All right. Well, tonight I'm actually not going to talk so much about food. I'm going to talk about one of the forms of movement that I highly recommend for everyone who wants to have a healthy lifestyle. And I've talked about walking and different things you can do, but I'm curious, how many of you or have any of you done any working with weights?
I have.
I had a feeling that you had, Pam. You know, there are a lot of benefits to our body in lifting weights. And actually, lifting weights is more beneficial to women than it is for men. And I think that's really a hoot because when I was coming on, they didn't really, even the female athletes at the high school I went to, they never had them lifting weights. We did almost nothing with weights. That was just kind of seen to be a guy thing. So I want to start off by naming some of the benefits of lifting weights, and that is lowering your blood pressure, less risk of heart disease, improved mobility and reduced pain, better sex and less erectile dysfunction in men, improved mood, better sleep, higher self esteem, improved insulin resistance, and that's something we've really been honing in on, and a lower risk for multiple cancers. So that is pretty that's some awfully good outcomes to be shooting for. So lifting weights can really add, and I will tell you that I'm one of those people that I love tiny habits. So as after I go through some of the things to think about in lifting weight and burning fat, I'm going to tell you how I manage it and what works for me. And a funny thing is, I got a massage this Saturday, and my massage therapist is a guy, and he was going, I told him, I said, my muscles are going to be tighter because I said, I've been lifting really constantly for about 6 weeks now. I said I'd gotten out of it and I got back into it. And he said, did you start with really heavy weights and just push your way through? I said, no, I never do that. I said, if I haven't been doing it for a while, I use cans of fruit or vegetables. I don't want a lot of weight. I want just a little bit and get myself moving. And I said, I'm up to 12-pound weight right now. And he goes, yeah, that might be what happened to me. He said, last time I tried to lift weights, he said, I went really heavy to begin with. I pulled something in my back, and he said, with 2 days, it was all over. And I said, well, I'm going to invite you to try again and try not to push through so hard. He said, well, I think that it may be just a man thing. He says, because men seem to do it this way. So I think for women, this is something that, we can do. And like I said, I'm going to talk to you about how to add it into your daily routine so that you see it. Any form of exercise can help you lose weight, but the more calories that you consume each day, you will, you've got to figure out how you're going to make that metabolism go up. Another reason I'm going to say that it's really good this time of year to start working on lifting the weights is because it's hot. And when it's hot like this, it's really hard unless you get up super duper early or you're going out late in the evening to walk. I mean, we've had some really hot days. And when you're lifting weights, you're building muscle, and muscle burns more calories than fat. So you're going to build some muscle in your legs and all, or like when I walk, I power walk and I'm pumping my arms, but it's still not like lifting the weights. And again, you build that muscle, and that's where you get in as that metabolism goes up, that you can reverse some of the insulin resistance that you've got. There are questions, well, do I do weights or do I do cardio first or what do I do? One of the things that's suggested is whenever you lift weights, you want to lift one day, rest one day, lift one day, rest one day. And one of the things you could think about doing is lifting weights and on the off day doing some walking if you wanted. Now, there's nothing that says that you can't lift weights and walk in the same day. But you know, if you want to change it up a little, because walking is something that's good to do every single day. Um, you know, so people say, do you lift heavy weights or do you lift light weights? You know, if you are a young athlete that really wants to build muscle, then a lot of times when you're working, and you want to always work with a trainer if you're going to, particularly if you're going to work with heavy weights, they will have you lift heavier than you feel like you sort of are comfortable with. And the reason is to build them, the fastest way to build muscle is to tear what's there. And then as you're lifting, it's just ripened up to build. But you know, once you're after 40, um, that's not such a really great idea because and after 40 when you tear muscles and God forbid a tendon gets out of line. You remember when I had I had problems with my rotator cuff a few months ago. It was really really bad. So I suggest, and the trainers that I work with are always saying use a little bit lighter weight. If you haven't lifted any weights, I would suggest start off with your green beans, cans of green bean, um, cans of cabbage, whatever you got, maybe soup. And you want to start off just with 10 reps. And when you come down, you want to come down as slowly as you went up, or even maybe a little bit slower, because the control you have. So you could do 10 on each side. You could do 10 curls. And then really, really important is, and let me get this so you can see, is that you have the weight in your hand and you're pushing back on, it's like it's a rowing motion. So those, if you just did those, and I would say work at 10 reps on each side and then do those reps 3 to 5 times and figure out what is most comfortable for you. Um, you know, I don't know if you know this, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg lifted weights every other day. When she was diagnosed with cancer, that was when she started lifting the weights. And another very cool thing about this is lifting weights can amp up your brain. It's been shown that the age related muscle loss is related to the cardiovascular and metabolic diseases and also to the memory losses. And they actually found that the frontal lobes respond better when people lift weights. So that's pretty important. Um, Lifting the weights will improve your overall endurance. Um, you know, if you have a job where you sit a lot, and when I tore my rotator cuff, it was like a big wake up call for me because I had gotten where I sat so much, and particularly during the pandemic. I mean, we walked, we kept our walk up 3 to 6 miles a day, but if I wasn't walking, I was sitting. Once I got back, I was just sitting all the time, and I really noticed that my core muscles were really weak, and that didn't feel good to me. And actually, when you're doing your reps and you're lifting weights, you can improve that core. And that having a tight core is a great way to avoid back pain, all of these things. I mean, it is really important for you. And it can be very easy. Like I said, I would suggest you start off with your cans of green beans and things. Maybe get yourself a 1 pound or 2 pound weight. When my parents moved last year into the independent living, I got them each weights for them to use, and we started out with a 1 pound weight because that was all that they were able to do. And I had them doing squats. I would go every morning and we would go in the kitchen and stand like the counter was a bar, and because they needed some help to stand up, and we would do the squats and we lifted the weights. And these were ways to work on building strength. But the best idea is not to wait till you're in your 80s or your 90s to do this, but start out sooner. And I told you the Delaney sisters did. Sadie decided when they were 60, man, they were going to start exercising every day. And they lived to be 106 and 110. So I would say the experiment was quite effective. So I want you to think about getting those weights. Weights are not very expensive. You can get them at Walmart. That's one of the cheapest places. You might even go on OfferUp. A lot of times at yard sales, people sell weights. If you want really nice exercise equipment, you can get it really cheaply at yard sales because people will buy things and then sell them for almost nothing. But start with your 1 or your 2 pound weight and then work your way up. And up to 5, and then this is my 12. But I actually did an 8 and 10 in between there. And like I said, when you're lifting, you want to lift very controlled up, very controlled down, very controlled up, very controlled down. Another tip for you is that you want to exhale when you are pushing on the weight. So breathe in. In any kind of exercise, the breathing is very, very important. But always exhaling when you're pushing up and inhale when you're controlled coming down. That's what's going to put the oxygen in the muscles where you need it. And you really need oxygen in those muscles when you're working on those. And this is something that is so easy to do. So I'm really big. There's a book called Tiny Habits, and there's another one called Atomic Habits. And it's all about how do you create habits that work for your lifestyle. Well, for me, always, I got my stand-up desk. I did that after I tore the rotator cuff and I realized that sitting wasn't good for me. I created a stand-up desk with a couple of desks I've got here, which works beautifully. But I've always got 2 weights in here. And when I'm standing here, sometimes I'll be working on them while I'm actually talking to people. It's really easy. It's not very distracting. Somebody asks, I tell people, do something, you want to be moving. But I've got them. I've got weights in my bathroom. So when I go to the bathroom, one of my little tricks that I think I've mentioned to you all is doing squats every time you go to the bathroom. So I was doing that, but I thought, well, shoot, I could do a couple of reps when I'm in there. And if you have these things where you see them, like they sort of wave at you, like, you need to use me, I've got weights in my kitchen. And I've got some weights in fact, people are always coming in and out of my living room, and I've got my kettlebells actually in the living room. And people will come in and they say, do you really work out with those? And I go, yep, sure do. When you decide to watch TV, great time to work out with weights. Because you'll be paying attention to that. Now, do pay attention to your breathing and going up and down, but those are great times to work out. If I'm in a great big Zoom, I'll just leave my camera off, and a lot of times that's a time that I work out. There's also ways to work with weight that you don't have to have anything. And those are things like push-ups from the chair, and I'm going to get you some more information on all this, or going to the wall and doing push-offs, which are just like push-ups, only that you're on the wall. You can get on the floor and do push-ups. Again, you're using your body's weight, but you truly are lifting weights. So this is something I want you to think about. And I was really thinking a lot about Bishop, because Bishop does not like to exercise, and she doesn't really like to do it. So another way around that is possibly working with these weights. And, like I said, for women, it is an amazing thing. And I have a friend who teaches a type of exercise dance that I got a certification in a few years ago, and she says I never do weights anymore. She told me when I got certified in that, she said you're never going to want to do weights anymore, but I really do. I like doing weights because I see lots of the benefits in having more energy. And, if you have those around, then talk to the other people in your house about using them too. Because, if we're all working on getting healthy together and doing these things, it makes it more fun. It's huge. I might have told you all when I was growing up, one of the deacons in my church lived right next to me, and he was a type 2 diabetic. And he was very interesting because I didn't really understand when I was growing up. But then I came back after I had my kids, and then I lived in my grandma's house, which was right across from him. And every night I'd watch him come out and walk. And so one night I said, "You are so dedicated to walking every night after dinner, and I'm so impressed by you." And he said, "Well, Kimball, I'm a type 2 diabetic. And the most important time for me to work out is what I do after my nighttime meal, because if I exercise then, my sugars are so much more likely to stay balanced, until the next morning." And he was great about that. And he lived to be a pretty elderly fella with not too many problems. So walking is a great way to do that, but it also might be that after supper, a lot of times that's when people will watch TV. That would be, you don't want to do too long, but if you did, say, 3 different sets of reps, that wouldn't be too much. And if you do it, you don't want to do it after 9 o'clock at night. But if you did it 6, even as late as 7, it would probably be okay. And particularly for people who are trying to balance their blood sugar, that's important. Now, one thing to think about: if you have high blood pressure, you need to check your blood pressure before you lift the weights if you're having problems regulating it. And then you need to check your blood pressure after you lift the weights. If your blood sugars, we talked about that one of the benefits is improved blood pressure. But remember, you've got to get there gradually. And that's another big issue about starting off with the can of vegetables, moving to the 1 pound weight, working your way up, and seeing what you want to do. But I will guarantee you that if you get started on this, that you will see a difference. And for women, as we're getting older, everybody gets a little, their arms are not as firm. You can make a difference in that. I saw, it was a really interesting picture the other day of a woman who was, I think she was about 75. And I couldn't believe the biceps and triceps she had. And there was an article written on her lifting weights. I'm also going to let you know, I may get a guest to speak one night. I have a really good friend named Brandon Woolley. And Brandon is a really interesting guy because everybody in his family was morbidly obese. And when Brandon graduated high school, he was very, very, very obese. I believe he ran in the morbid area. Anyway, he started, I believe it was teaching school is what he was doing, but he was really, really sick. And one day he was fed up with it, and he decided he was going to do something else. And he let go, he released all of the weight, he changed the way he ate, he changed the way he exercised. And then he decided that he wanted to go back and become a trainer to help other people. And I really love Brandon's stuff. And a couple of weeks ago, I spoke with him, and he has created an app. And he created it to be a very high-end app that would, people that wanted to do this, and there's a lot of money in these high-end apps, but it would be a very small group of people. There are a lot of people that financially it would just close out. And so I met with him, and I talked to him about creating a system where people could do it on a monthly, like if you pay by the month you'd get there would be a rate that would be affordable. And so he messaged me today after we had another chat this morning, and he had gone back and worked with his guy. And I don't want to say what it is, but it until I look at it, because I know it's in the 20s, but I can't remember exactly. So what he's going to do is he has got a subscription model where it's $29.90 a month. I'm going to subscribe to it. It has things on there where you can do, it's got a 6-week program for people that want to use weights and have a home gym or go to the gym. There's a 6-week program for people who just want to use resistance of their own weight. He's got all kinds of nutritional things, and he has recipes and all. So I'd really like to have him come speak to you all one night. He's a very amazing young man. I'm really excited. He and his wife are expecting their first baby in September, and he just eludes a lot of positive energy. And to see somebody that just made the decision that they were going to turn their life around and is really dedicated to helping other people do that. So I think that he might have some other stuff to share with you. Has anybody got any questions about the benefits of lifting weights?
Bishop does.
No, I don't. Don't do that. Well, yeah.
I talked to my brother this morning. He says after this week he'll be back. He's just been crazy. You know, he teaches school, and he also has basically a music school, and he has been just about killing himself to get through all the end of the year performances. But I talked to him today, and I said, I really want you to start doing some weightlifting. And he was like, oh, that seems like a lot. And I said, no, it can be fun. I also want to remind you all on the 3rd at 6 o'clock, start inviting people, bring some people over. We're going to watch Fat One, and I'm going to have all kinds of really cool recipes and different things for you to try. I did a new recipe this morning that I found for my dad, and it's hash browns, only instead of being made with potatoes, it's made with cabbage. And it was really yummy. I really, really enjoyed it, and Jeff was excited. So, you know, I've got quite a few things that I'm looking forward to sharing with you all, and I'm always sharing the benefits of olive oil, that you know, it's as opposed to vegetable oils. And I'll let you know that in downtown Verena now there's a spice and oil shop. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is, but they have wonderful balsamic vinegars. And they got to be careful of the balsamic vinegars because I'm pretty sure that they have sugar added in back into those. But you can use a tiny amount if you want. I mean, they're amazing. But she has all of these infused olive oils, and the blood orange is my favorite. You can add that, put it over a meat, put it on a vegetable, and it really brightens it up and gives it pizzazz. I love the Tuscan is another of my favorites. And then she has one that is bacon olive oil, and it's got a wonderful taste. And cooking in olive oil is very, very helpful because, again, using those oils and getting enough fats will help keep your blood sugar down. And there's just all kinds of benefits. So that's another local place. And she has people, I ran in there Sunday evening just before she closed because I'd run out of oil. And she was so excited because somebody had just driven over from North Raleigh because they saw that she had these infused oils. And if you go in there and check the place out, you can go through and get a little cup, and you can, and they're in things where you can get a little sample and see what they taste like. So I wanted to pass that along to you all, like I said. And if you know of a place that's got anything good, and with all the vegetables that are coming in right now in spring, you know, putting a little bit of olive oil on them and doing them on the grill, I mean, you know, there's just all kinds of possibilities. You know, from now until the fall, we've got the best things to eat.
Avocado oil is also very good. It is high heat resistance.
Yes. You can use avocado oil with high heat. You can use walnut oil with high heat. You can use sesame oil, which is one of my favorite oils with high heat. Olive oil, you've got to keep it medium to low because it will become toxic if you go too high with the heat. I actually like to cook my vegetables and then drizzle the olive oil on them afterwards. And it's a great way to add in a healthy fat. Anybody got any other questions?
No, thank you.
All
It's been
righty.
wonderful. See
We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
you.
Hey, wait, whoa. Next week is Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, no. Then I'll
Right.
see you the following Monday.
Right. Okay. Got it.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.